You promised yourself you'd stay out of it. Then someone leaned in, dropped their voice, and said, "Don't tell anyone, but..." And just like that, you're hooked. You could call it nosiness or a failure of willpower, but the real answer is far stranger and far older than the words you're using to read this. Because gossip isn't really gossip. It's just facts running a little late. And don't worry, this is gossip, not a ghost ship. Nobody's sinking. Yet. Here's the part nobody tells you. You gossip constantly, not in a villainous way, just in the ordinary, human, did you hear about way. In a 2019 study, the psychologists Megan Robbins and Alexander Karen clipped recorders onto hundreds of people and sampled their real days, minute by minute. The average person spent about 52 minutes a day talking about people who weren't in the room, 52 minutes. That's longer than most people spend exercising, and almost none of them would ever call themselves a gossip. And the content? Mostly dull. That same study found the overwhelming majority of it was neutral. Who's moving? Who got the promotion? Who said the awkward thing in the meeting? Only a thin slice was mean. So that cackling villain image you have of gossip? Mostly wrong. Most of it is just maintenance. Quiet, constant, social maintenance. Okay, here's where it gets weird. To understand why your mouth does this, you have to go back. Way back. Before cities, before farming, before anyone had a single celebrity to talk about. Back to a problem your ancestors had with their hands. Picture a troop of monkeys. How do they stay a troop instead of a crowd of strangers who happen to share a tree? They groom each other, hours of it, picking through fur, one-on-one. It feels good, yes, but it's doing something underneath the surface. It's a signal that says you matter, you're safe, you belong. It builds trust one body at a time. But grooming has a cruel ceiling. You can only groom one individual at a time, and there are only so many hours in a day. The bigger the group, the more grooming everyone needs, until the whole thing buckles under its own social weight. A monkey in a truly large group would have to groom from sunrise to sunset and still go to sleep behind on its relationships. This is the puzzle the anthropologist Robin Dunbar built a career around, because human groups got big, suspiciously, impossibly big, compared to anything grooming could hold together. And Dunbar's answer was that somewhere on the way to becoming human, your ancestors found a workaround. They traded fingers for words. Instead of grooming one body, you could groom with your voice. And a voice reaches 3 or 4 people at once, in the dark, around a fire, while your hands are busy skinning dinner. He called it vocal grooming. You probably call it talking behind someone's back. Turns out they're the same machine. And the math behind it is genuinely strange. Dunbar noticed that across primates, the size of a species' social group tracks the size of its brain, really the neocortex, that wrinkled outer layer. Plot humans on that line, and you land on a number that's gotten weirdly famous. Roughly 150, that's Dunbar's number. The rough ceiling on how many people you can hold genuine relationships with at once. Not 150 phone contacts. 150 people whose lives you can actually keep straight in your head. So here's the trick question. How do you keep track of 150 lives when you can only ever stand in one spot? You don't. You can't. You outsource it. You let everyone else tell you what you missed. Did you hear, isn't a character flaw? It's a status update, a download. Your friends are running a background sync on the whole tribe and reporting back to you. Wait, it gets better. The moment your ancestors could talk about people who weren't present, something enormous quietly switched on. Reputation. A person's past could now travel ahead of their body. You could know that the man 2 valleys over always shares his catch, or that the other one helps himself first and apologizes never, without ever shaking either one's hand. Their behavior turned into stories, and the stories arrived before they did. And that rewires how a whole group behaves. The psychologist Matthew Feinberg tested this in the lab. He had people watch someone play unfairly in an economic game, then gave them a chance to warn the next player. What he found was almost physical. Watching the cheating pushed people's heart rates up, and passing along the warning brought them back down. He called it pro-social gossip. Tattling in plain English. But tattling that does a job. It shields the group from the people who'd quietly drain it. So gossip starts to look less like poison and more like an immune system. It's how a community notices a freeloader and roots around him without anyone ever calling a meeting. The evolutionary psychologist Frank McAndrew says it about as plainly as it can be said. Humans find information about other people nearly impossible to ignore, because for almost all of the human story, that information was survival. Who can you trust? Who owes whom? Who's dangerous once the light goes out? The ones who shrugged and tuned it out got used. The ones who leaned in, who needed to know, are the ones whose genes ended up in you. McAndrew also spotted something almost funny about which gossip grabs you hardest. It's news about people like you. Same age, same circle, the rivals and allies who actually move your own standing. It's why a magazine can sell a total stranger's breakup as breaking news. Your brain quietly files a celebrity as a member of your tribe, because for nearly all of history, anyone whose face you saw that often genuinely was one. And no, that's not a typo. The instinct you feel faintly embarrassed about is the same instinct that kept your great-great, keep going for a few thousand greats, grandparents alive. And here's the half of it that works on you even when your mouth is shut. It's not only that you listen to gossip, it's that you know you might become it. That quiet awareness that the thing you do today could be tonight's story is a leash you carry everywhere you go. It's why you'll hand back the extra change a cashier missed in a town where people know your name, and why something loosens just a little when nobody around you does. Behave, and the talk protects you. Cheat, and the talk comes for you. Most people never quite decide to be good. They just decide they'd rather not be the subject of the next conversation. Stick with this for a second, because the twist is the whole point. You've been told gossip tears people apart. The real story runs almost backward. Gossip is part of what holds people together, and not in a fuzzy feelings way. In a structural way. The anthropologist Christopher Boehm spent decades studying small foraging societies, the kind closest to how humans lived for most of their existence, and he noticed something striking. These groups are fiercely equal, and they stay that way on purpose. When someone starts acting like a big shot, hoarding, bullying, lording it over everyone, the group doesn't need a king or a court to handle him. They use ridicule. They use gossip. They talk and they laugh. And the would-be tyrant feels the temperature in the camp drop 10 degrees. Boehm called it a reverse dominance hierarchy, the many keeping any single person from rising too high, armed with nothing but their mouths. Think about that. Before there were laws, there was talk. Before there were police, there was, "You'll never believe what he tried to pull." The whisper network is older than the courthouse, and for a very long stretch of human time, it quietly did the courthouse's job. Actually, you can scratch that, it's stranger still. Gossip may not have just helped build societies, it may have helped build language itself. If Dunbar is right, the reason you can read this sentence at all, the reason your species has words at all, traces partly to a bottomless hunger to talk about each other. Grammar, in that light, is gossip that learned to sit up straight. Let that land. The most sophisticated thing your species ever invented might have grown out of the urge to lean in and whisper, "Okay, but you didn't hear it from me." So, where does all that ancient wiring go now that there's no fire to sit at and no fur to pick through? Nowhere. It just got a much, much bigger antenna. Every group chat is a campfire. Every comment section is a circle of hands working through someone's fur. The "seen at 9:42, still no reply" spiral, the screenshot forwarded with 3 exclamation marks, the entire invention of the notification. That's vocal grooming, scaled up to a whole planet and sped up to the millisecond. Your thumbs are doing what your ancestors' fingers once did. And honestly, that's a little unsettling. Because it means the part of you that physically cannot scroll past a stranger's meltdown isn't broken. It's working perfectly. It's just aimed at 7 billion strangers instead of the 50 who actually shared your fire. Here's the modern catch, though, and it's a real one. Your reputation instinct was tuned for a group of about 150, a place where the people you talked about could talk right back, where being caught lying cost you, where everyone eventually had to look everyone else in the eye. Online, that whole loop gets cut. You can pass judgment on a person you'll never meet, who can't answer, in front of an audience that's gone again in 2 seconds flat. The ancient software is still running beautifully. The world it was written for is gone. It's a bit like driving with a map of a city that's been bulldozed and rebuilt 3 times. The instinct is sound, the streets just aren't there anymore. And the silence stings more than it has any right to. Ever been quietly dropped from a group chat and felt that small, dumb ache? That's not only ego. For nearly all of human history, being cut out of the talk meant being cut out of the news, and being cut out of the news could mean being cut out of the food, the warning, the help. Exile wasn't a mood, it was a death sentence with extra steps. Your nervous system simply never got the update that it's now just a muted thread and a slightly bruised evening. So the next time you catch yourself leaning in, the next time someone drops their voice and your entire brain goes quiet to listen, ease up on yourself. You're not being small. You're running the oldest social technology your species ever wrote, the one that turned grooming hands into talking mouths, and turned a crowd of wary strangers into something that could trust and cooperate and eventually build. You promised yourself you'd stay out of it. You won't. You can't. You were built fiber by fiber to lean in. Because gossip was never the opposite of the truth. It's the truth in motion. The facts finding their way to you, running a little late, and arriving, like they always have, right on time.